Hello you guys, Miss Steele here. I'm down here at the bottom and this thing is recording what I'm doing. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. This week we're talking about texture. And there are two different types of texture. There's actual texture and implied texture. So actual texture is how something feels, like this table is smooth. The part of the glue bottle at the top is kind of bumpy. Scissors are sharp. Those are the actual textures. Implied textures is whenever we use different sorts of art tricks to make something look like it has texture even though it's flat. And that is what we're going to do today, kindergarten. We're going to make our own owls. We're going to make them their own little tree to be inside of, their own wings. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. So today, what you're going to need is a piece of white paper, and this is what we're going to draw our owl onto. You want another smaller piece of white paper. It can just be a scrap piece of paper. I just found this one in my room, and we're going to draw some wings and cut them into feathers using this white piece of paper. As well, you want to have some brown paper for your tree we're going to put on here later. And then if you want to add some details, you could use some extra green paper you might have, and I'll show you that at the end. So those are a few different papers. We're doing some cutting and gluing today. Hence all the papers. So we have our papers. You want glue. I usually use the white glue, the squeeze bottle, but glue sticks work just as well. You want a pair of scissors. You want an eraser and a pencil. That's pretty much every time we do art. And then you want something to color with. So I have some markers and some crowns, so you can use what you have to color with. So now let's get all of this stuff out of the way. We're going to start with drawing our owl, and I'm going to show you guys a pretty simple trick to draw an owl. Towards the top of your paper, you want to draw a curved line. It's almost going to look like a U, like that. And that's going to be the top of our owl. So now we're going to draw the body. And what you want to do is, going from the end of this U, you want to draw one more bigger U. And you want to make it big, because this is going to be the body of our owl. And there you go. So here's like the two top, I don't know what they're called. I don't want to call them ears, but the two tops of our owl, and here's the body. What we're going to add next are the eyes, and owls are known for having very big eyes. So underneath these, I'm going to draw two big circles for my eyes. So I'm going slow, taking my time. There's one circle. And here's another circle. So we're getting close, but we're not quite there with our owl. I'm going to go ahead and draw another circle on the inside. So he almost has like an inside of his eye. And I'm going to do the same to the next one. So now we have our body, which was a small U, the big U, and our two big owl eyes. In between the eyes, towards the bottom, I'm going to draw an upside down triangle for the beak. So in between my eyes, I added an upside down triangle for my beak. I made it a little bit smaller than what I made the eyes because their beaks are a little bit smaller than their eyes. The last thing I'm going to add is I'm going to draw one more curved line, almost like an upside down U, right here at the bottom. So the basic part of our owl is done. We're going to add some wings on right here later. But right now, I'm going to go back and add some different little details in to kind of give it more texture. Around the eyes, I'm going to add some lines to give that more texture. I'm going to do the same with the other. And then on this area that we just drew, which is almost like their little like underbellies, their bellies, I'm going to use a bumpy line, and that's going to make it almost look like it has some texture, like it has different feathers. So there's my first bumpy line that I did. And now I'm going to add in another bumpy line. And then I'm going to finish it up with 1/3 bumpy line. So we have the basic part of our owl done. What the next step is going to be is just to color in our owls. So I'm going to start coloring this in, and I will be back and we can move on to our next steps. Alright, so I am done. I colored my owl. I did kind of like more original colors, but if you guys want to use different colors, crazy colors, you can do that. I just realized I forgot to add these little lines back in. So I'm going to do that real quick. But now our next step is going to be drawing some feathers for these two sides and getting those put on there. So that's what we have this paper for. So what we want to do is we want to draw 2 side feathers for this. So using this, what you should do is you want to make one curved line like that. So instead of making a straight line, I curved it. And then you want to do the same thing on the other side and make sure that the 2 ends touch. So I'm drawing another curved line. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be yours. So I have one. I'm going to go ahead and do my other so I can show you guys. So I'm starting and then I'm pushing it out so it can be curved. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm going out and then back in. So I jump off, go out, and then I come back in. They don't have to look exactly the same. That's okay. Mine don't. And now what we want to do is we want to color these so they match the colors on these so it looks like it goes with it. So I'm going to get these colored and then I'm going to cut them out and show you guys the next step. So you're going to color these in to match your owl and then you're going to cut them out. Alright, I will be back with these colored and cut out. Alright, so I got them cut out and I almost think they might be a little too big for my owl. So I'm going to go back and make them just a little bit smaller. I could have done this off camera, but I wanted to show you guys that sometimes whenever you're working on your art, you're like, I want to change that. And that is quite alright. So I'm making for sure they're similar sizes. Alright, so now we have our 2 wings. If you see, I drew a line down the middle just because that's going to help me whenever I start cutting. Instead of just gluing them on like this, I kind of want to give these a feather texture. So what I'm going to do is instead of cutting straight, I'm kind of cutting at a little bit of an angle, and I'm cutting a bunch of straight lines. Almost like whenever we did our magic carpets, if you remember those a few weeks ago. And like if you put grass on the bottom of your texture bunny, you did that as well. So I'm going to go through and get these cut. And if you see I'm not going straight, I'm almost going I'm going to get these cut and then I'm going to glue them down and then we're going to be able to put our tree on our final step. Alright, so we finished our owl and he got his wings on here. If you can see, they're all textured now because we cut those lines into there instead of just being flat. They look like almost like real feathers. But now we're going to move on to our brown piece of paper. We're going to get our tree ready. There's a few things we have to do first. So what you want to do is you want to fold in 2 of the sides. So you almost like create like 2 little flaps. So whenever I'm folding something, I make for sure it's lined up. And if you see, this is about as much as my knuckle. So I didn't do a lot, but I didn't do too much. I did about an inch, we'll say. And I hold it with one hand and then I press it with the other. So I'm going to do that on this side, holding it with one hand, pressing it with the other. I can fold these out because we don't need them right now, but I want to have them for later. So now we want to cut out a circle so we can see our owl. And to do this, you want to fold your paper in half. So I'm folding it. I'm making for sure my corners are lined up. And then I'm making for sure that the side that opens is away from me, which you should know because we folded these little flaps. So now I'm going to draw right here, another big curved line, half a circle, almost like a big wide U. Ooh, that's hard to see. I'm going to do it in black so you guys can see it better. Like this. And I am going to cut that out so we can see through to our owl. So I'm taking it and I'm cutting it. I apologize, this is such a long video, you guys. So we got our circle part cut out. We don't need it anymore. And now you can see through. What you can do right now if you want as well is you can add, this is some wood texture in the background. If you see, it's not just all cream. There are all of these different lines to it. So you can go back and add a few different lines to make it look more like wood if you want on the brown. So there's some. Here's some. Maybe I'll add that line around this side too. So that is what we need to do. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video real quick just so I can outline this. And you guys probably don't want to watch that. It's just going to drive me nuts if I only had a black line on this side and not on this side. So now we have our tree ready. And if you remember, we folded these two edges earlier. And these edges are what we're going to put glue onto and hold down so we can get our tree around our owl. So here it is. And like I said, we're going to use these little pieces that we folded, and we're going to press them down so we can see through to our owl. I didn't decorate my background, but if you wanted to, you guys definitely could. So I'm going to take my glue, and these two areas where we folded over, I'm going to add some glue, and then I'm going to add some glue. Not too much. You don't want it to be sticky and icky. You just want it to hold. And then I'm going to flip this over and carefully place it around my owl. And unfortunately, glue does not work like magic, although I wish it did. You have to hold it for a second and press down to make for sure it's going to stay. I'm just putting my hand inside the owl, and if you can see, there's that flap that we folded earlier that we put the glue onto, and that's what I'm pressing down on. And now I'm going to do it on the other side so it can be held real nice. All right, and there we go. If you remember from earlier, we had some green paper. If you want to add this detail on, you can. You definitely don't have to, but it looks pretty good. I take my green paper, and let's use this one instead because it'll be easier to cut strips out of. And I cut strips out of it like this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's a few. And I want to glue these on here to give it some texture, but they're kind of boring whenever they're just flat like this. So what I like to do is take a pencil, and then I like to roll it around my pencil. So I'm rolling it around my pencil, if you can see. And then what I do is I squeeze it in my hand nice and tight. And then whenever I take it off, instead of being straight, it is all curly like this. So then I can add it on here, and instead of just being straight, it's nice and curly for it. So I'm going to show you that again. Maybe I'll use this paper this time. I'll use my lighter green. And I'm rolling, or not rolling, I'm cutting it. Maybe I'll do this one a little shorter. And then I'm going to take it around my pencil. If you don't want to do it around your pencil, you can always just wrap it around your finger. That works just as well. And I'm wrapping it around my finger. And I'm squeezing it. And I'm getting it all curly. And then I'm going to hang these around the top a little bit. So I'm going to show you one last time. I wrap it around my pencil. I hold it down with my thumb whenever I start wrapping, just so I can make for sure it gets it. And then I wrap it around my pencil. And that'll make it go from straight to curly. It's going to give it some texture. And then I'm going to squeeze